What is going on, everybody, and welcome to the Tuesday edition of the Stokastic NHL Strategy Show. I'm your host, Josh Harris. We had 10 games last night. If you game stacked St. Louis, Nashville, and left $312,000 on the table, congrats, you won all the money.
The guy that won the $12 single entry, I think, game stacked that game and had a William Nylander one-off. So worked pretty well.
In the clouds. Yeah. Blues 1-2 on the season when they have a 4-goal lead. Can't even make that up. It's not even possible. I guess Schmaltz did have a Hattie, right? Yeah. But yeah, Colorado got shut out. So if you use them like I did, congrats on waking up to no notifications. We have a 7-game slate here tonight. There are some pretty interesting chalk spots here. There are some big totals. Once again, everyone at home, 3.1 or higher. Funny enough, everyone on the road, 3 or lower. So interesting slate here. There are there's actually a 7 on the board here tonight. There's a few 6.5s. There are no 5.5s on the board. So this is a wild slate, wide open, bunch of teams on a back-to-back. Joining me to break it down, some Cliffy. Going on.
Yeah, not a whole lot. Interesting slate last night with St. Louis and Nashville. St. Louis 5-1 lead with 30 minutes left in the game. And not even pulling, like the outdoor game, Boston blew the 5-1 lead. At least they got to a shootout. St. Louis just straight up lost in regulation. God, that's really tough to pull off. Colorado got shut out. It's funny, like that. I keep saying I think they're playing their top guys like way too much, especially considering the cushion that they have in the Western Conference. And it's like, well, they can use the Olympic break to get a rest. And it's like, not really, because McKinnon's going, Makar's going, Taves is going, Lekkonen's going, Brock Nelson is going. Like all their top guys are going to the Olympics. They're not getting a rest. So it'll be really interesting to see how Colorado performs down the stretch. Obviously, they're still a great team. Just hit a little bit of a tough spot, but yeah, 7 games ahead of us here tonight. There are a lot of teams on a back-to-back, so we should expect some late news, but that's why we say always pay attention to the Discord.
Yeah, I forgot last night to pay attention to Discord. Didn't miss lock by like 25 minutes, but that's the way it works. My lineup was set and good to go. Clayton just bragging he won St. Louis 2 and Utah 1. That's why we withhold all of his funds for being the chat moderator. Not the humblest of guys, but just kidding. Let's get into this slate. Before we do, again, no affiliate link anymore, but we do have a promo code that tracks our signups. It will get you 15% off any subscription. That is promo code PuckLuck. Obviously, today, tomorrow, Thursday. The last slates of NHL before a 3-week break, but we do have NBA, we have PGA, MMA, Super Bowl this weekend, so there are plenty of options if you are looking to sign up, and it does support us directly, so thank you for that. Let's get into it with a doozy here. Ottawa Senators, the 2.7 total heading into Carolina. The Hurricanes have a 3.7. Ottawa running back, I don't think they made any changes last night. They went Stützle, Batherson, Giroux, Cousins of the Dillon variety, Brady Tkachuk, Ridley Greig, and then Pinto, Amadio, and Nicky Cousins. Carolina going Aho, Svechnikov, Jarvis, Stankoven, Hall, Blake. Clayton didn't like that comment. Stahl, Martinook, Ehlers. The problem here is for the Sens is they're back-to-back on the road. Olmark has been good in his 2 games since. They're going to be starting James Reimer here. After the first game where he threw it back old school, he has been quite trash. This is interesting because Carolina's top line, 19,800, 15.4% top 2, 7% projected ownership. They're the most expensive line under 20K. Obviously, we have Edmonton against back-to-back on the road, Toronto. And then Cirelli's out in Tampa, but you are, I forget the word. My brain is not working, but you're expecting a very expensive Tampa 1, and we'll talk about it when we get there. But this Carolina line is the most expensive, under 20K. It's not a great 5-on-5 matchup, but they are shooting on Reimer, and it is an excellent power play opportunity for them. They're still doing the thing with Jordan Staal, Nikolai Ehlers, and all that jazz. That's why I don't have an issue going to Carolina 1 here. Even if they see the Stützle line, even if they see the Cousins, it doesn't matter what line they go out against Ottawa. Ottawa is the best 5-on-5 team for expected goals against per 60. It's just their goaltending and penalty kill has been awful. So I don't mind going to Carolina 1 here just because they have been excellent at 5-on-5. They're fully correlated. Their power play did get better with Nikishin. Now they have Ghost back. It's been a few games. I think they've scored a couple times. I don't mind Carolina 1 here. We'll get to Edmonton later. I think if I'm willing to spend up above 20K, Edmonton's certainly on the table. If you don't want to go above 20K here, the Carolina is the only line in between 18 and 20K. So it's either like Carolina, Tampa, Edmonton, or you're not really worried about salary. So I don't mind Carolina 1 here just because it's Reimer. If it was Ullmark here, it would be a different story. I'd still maybe play them in MME because of the power play, but shooting on Reimer, I do have interest in Carolina 1. I also think Carolina 3 is fine for the same reasons. 1, they're also 11,400 and they fit with anybody. 2, they've been unbelievably good in their 90 minutes together. And 3, they split power play one time with Staal and Ehlers, so you have that opportunity there as well. So, also Carolina 2 is fine, but again, they're not on the top power play unit. They don't play a ton. It's a tough 5-on-5 matchup. If you want to play them because they're 10,900 shooting on James Reimer, fine. But for me in this game on the Carolina side, it would be Carolina 1. Fine with Carolina 3. On the Ottawa side, I don't have a ton of interest back-to-back on the road. Again, it would be the Brady Tkachuk line. Not really a shocker. 3.4% top 2.9% projected ownership at 16-1. These Carolina lines defensively are worse than league average. Brennan Bussey has been very good. He kind of got lit up at the end of the last game, but he has been excellent this season. The Tkachuk line has been very good in about 80 minutes. They're fine. I'm not going to prioritize them. There are a fair bit of teams on back-to-backs, but their totals definitely reflect that. But if anything on the Ottawa side, it is that Tkachuk line and Carolina 1 for me.
Yeah, I'll start on the Carolina side. Early December was when they started doing that Jordan Staal, Nikolai Ehlers switch thing. Since December 1st, the Carolina power play is at 8.5 goals. The top power play unit is at 8.5 goals per 60 minutes. That's about league average for a top power play unit. So, and that might sound kind of like a backhanded compliment, but up until December 1st, Carolina's power play was scoring at less than half that rate. So there's clearly been a lot of improvement over the last couple of months. And I'm going to be writing about this elsewhere for season-long fantasy hockey. But one thing that I look at for power plays is efficiency, creating scoring chances off. How many scoring chances can you create off of one zone entry? Being able to maximize your scoring chance ability, because it is hard to get the puck into the zone with control on the power play. Being able to maximize that efficiency is very important. The top teams in the league this year doing that are like Edmonton, Dallas, Boston, Pittsburgh, like teams with great power plays. Carolina is right up there with them. It's just that they're shooting like 10%. Now, Carolina typically does struggle shooting percentage-wise, power play or otherwise, but the fact that they're able to create so many opportunities on the power play is what's encouraging. And I think I agree. Like if this was Ullmark starting, I'd be pretty hesitant just because it's 2 games, but he has looked a lot better in his couple games since returning from his leave of absence. And James Reimer just like it's James Reimer. Like it's not something I'm super concerned about. These two teams kind of mirror each other in that sense, where they're both good at limiting opportunities or shot volume at least, but they can give up some pretty grade A opportunities, which is why like I do like Carolina 1 here. I'm gonna be honest, like I think this is a case where I might go to one of the Carolina depth lines. Like Ottawa has been taking a lot of penalties. That's the one thing that's kind of pulling me towards the Carolina side. Ottawa's at 3.4 times shorthanded per game over the last 5 weeks. Over the course of the season, they're about league average for time shorthanded per game. So they've been getting worse as the season's gone on. And if Carolina's power play all of a sudden is not even great, just like top 10 or top 12 or something, it completely changes the outlook of those top guys on a nightly basis. But at 19,800, you're not really getting much of a discount for a team that's had a bad power play for most of the season. So I don't mind them. I think for me, they'd be more like 20 max or something like that. I'd probably rather go to one of the filler lines. Ehlers, Stahl, Martineau specifically sticks out to me. One, because if the power play does get there, you'll have one of Ehlers or Stahl on the power play. The other is, they've been able to create pretty well together. 4.3 expected goals, 73 shot attempts in their 90-plus minutes together. Now, it's a Jordan Stahl line, so the shooting percentage is fairly low at 6%. But they're getting ice time, too, 17 to 18 minutes a game. Because Stahl and Ehlers are getting the power play time. Those guys, some of those guys get shorthanded time. When they're at home, they play the shutdown role, so they go out against top line, first or second lines. So they are getting a lot of a good amount of ice time as well. For me, I like Ehlers, Stahl, Martineau here. If you want just two-man like Ehlers and Stahl or something like that, I think that's fine. For me, it's Carolina 3 that I like best on the Carolina side. On the Ottawa side, I don't dislike the Sens here tonight, mainly because there's no ownership. Like you're looking at sub 1% ownership for each of their top 2 lines projected here tonight. On a 7-game slate, like that's always appealing no matter what. Interesting part about the Ottawa top line is they've been pretty good with Claude Giroux there, like really good. 57 shot attempts, 4.1 expected goals, 3.9 actual goals per 60 minutes. Now, going up against Jacob Slavin isn't ideal, and obviously you'd rather face Freddie Anderson than Brandon Bussey, but they have been pretty good. But it is back-to-back on the road, and you're going to go into Jacob Slavin. I think Ottawa's a team where if I was playing a lot of lineups, then I would really consider them. Because like if I'm 20 maxing, I'd probably have at least one Ottawa lineup just because it is a short slate. And those guys have been very good together. Carolina's been leaky defensively. Slavin should help stabilize that, but they've still been very leaky defensively otherwise this season. And they do take their fair share of penalties. So I would probably go to Stützle, Batherson, Giroux, but for me, that's 20 max and above, like 1 out of 20 or something in a 20 max. I think that's fine. Single entry, I'm probably out on the Sens forwards. I think that's a team where I'm going to look more towards the defenseman.
Let's talk about our favorite team who has betrayed us. Columbus Blue Jackets with a 3 total heading into New Jersey. The Devils have a 3.1 total. Marchenko is out. Rick Bowness putting Ducks legend Isak Lundestrom on the top line with Fantilli and Marchment. Then Coyle, Sillinger, Olivier, Monahan, Johnson, Voronkov. Then Jenner down on the 4th line with Miles and Miles of Wood for whatever reason. What we have in the top stacks for the Devils, they had an optional this morning. It's Cody Glass, Brown, Meyer, Hischer, Grietzuk, Lenny Ham, and then Bratt on the 3rd line with Mercer and Paul Cotter. A lot of ownership on the Devils here. Glass, Brown, Timo Meyer, 11,400, 7.3% top 2, 24.5% projected ownership. Hischer, Grietzuk, Ham, 12K, 5.2% projected ownership, or top 2, 15% projected ownership. That's just a lot, but like it's Elvis Merzlikins in that. These guys are going to play heavy minutes. Meyer, I think 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. At least Timo Meyer's on the top. I'm pretty sure Connor Brown is as well. It could be Meyer, Hischer, Bratt, Mercer, but I honestly don't know anymore.
No, it's Hischer, Bratt, Meyer, Brown. So that Meyer, Glass, Brown line is the only line with at least 2 guys on the power play.
Yeah, and they're coming in 3.5x their top 2, but they're just going to play a ton. Cody Glass has been very good this season. It's a really good power play matchup. There's no matchups coming back from Columbus that are worrisome. Elvis Merzlikins is easily their worst goaltender. Rick Bowness just doing stuff. It's just, do you want to play a Devils line almost 25%? If they were like 17K, it'd be an easy no. But at 11,400, where Timo Meyer is probably going to play over 20 minutes, Cody Glass will probably play 18, 19. Connor Brown may play 16 to 18, you know what I mean? At 11,400 against the Blue Jackets without their best winger and Marchenko and starting their worst goaltender, like, you have to consider it. What I guess you could do is, like, if you wanted to leave off Glass and add in Nico Hischer, but at that point, like, you kind of want to leave Glass because he has been very good. He's going to play heavy minutes. So I don't know. Maybe you just go New Jersey 1, add in Nico Hischer. You go New Jersey 1, add in Jesper Bratt because, you know, that Devils third line, Mercer, Bratt, Cotter, not getting a ton of ownership. Go like Glass, Meyer, Brown, Bratt or something like that. If you're worried about the ownership, there's ways to do a little bit different things. You could just straight up power play stack if you wanted. Like, the ownership is insanely high, and you know, the 15% on the Hischer line, I'm probably out on, even though they're going to probably be fairly good. It's such a good power play spot that I want the 2 power play guys for $600 less. Nothing sits well with chalk New Jersey, but I'd find a way to get Jesper Bratt in just because he's going to be the lowest owned of the lot, as they say. So I'd do some sort of power play stack to dilute the ownership if you're worried about it. On the Columbus side, no idea what to expect with Lundestrom on that top line. He's not really enough. It's kind of like Walmart Kirby Doc for Montreal up there. I don't really want to stack that top line without Marchenko. Marchenko is easily their best player besides Werenski, but, you know, Werenski's not playing forward. I guess it would be Monahan, Johnson, Voronkov as a filler at 10,600, 0.6% projected ownership. But, you know, with all these people out of place and Marchenko out, I'd probably just go like super cheap options on Columbus, like the Monahan, like one off Ken Johnson, 2-man with Monahan, and one off Charlie Coyle, something like that.
I can tell you one thing I'm not going to do is play 25% New Jersey Devils line.
I was trying to make a case for why you could, but like I was having trouble.
No, why you can is you know, if you drank the water at Itchy and Scratchy Land and all of a sudden you're tripping out. That's
this. Yeah.
Nico Hischer, 165 minutes without any of Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, or Timo Meyer on his line this season. 49 shot attempts, 1.7 expected goals for per 60 minutes. I really don't think Arseny Gritsuk and Lenny Haminaho are going to carry him to the promised land. Now, maybe they will, because it is Elvis Merzlikins. Columbus still not a great defensive team. Anything can happen in a single game. At 15% projected ownership, 3x higher than their top 2. That's a big old no for me. Meyer, Glass, Brown, 25%? Absolutely not. Power play correlation, I really don't give a shit in this game. When has the New Jersey power play been good? Is it going to be good with this iteration? I don't think so. I think this is advantage Columbus, not advantage New Jersey. The only Devils line I have interest in is the third line, and it's because there's no ownership on them. You know, it's not that I have a ton of faith in Paul Cotter and Dawson Mercer, but I'd rather play that line at 3% than Connor Brown and Cody Glass at 25%. That's it. It's just an easy decision for me. Are they going to be good? I don't know. Is Columbus any good? Not really. not their depth anyway, and not their goalie. So Bratt, Mercer, Cotter, like if you want just two-man like Bratt and Cotter or even Mercer and Cotter, I don't even think you have to play Bratt. I think that's fine, but it's New Jersey 3 is the only thing I have interest in on the New Jersey side. I'm going to be honest, considering that those three lines have a combined projected ownership of like 43%, I'm probably just going to be straight up fading New Jersey here tonight, assuming that half the field is, or close to half the field is going to have some sort of New Jersey stack. I don't feel the need to stack one of the 5 worst offensive teams in the NHL where they're going to be in like nearly half the lineups of the field. That's just an easy pass for me. On the Columbus side, like your point about Marchenko is the important one, I think. I was looking at how Fantilli has done without Marchenko. The goal rate is 17% higher when Marchenko is next to Fantilli than when Fantilli doesn't have him on the ice. That is a concern. Now, there's not a lot of ownership, but 13,400 is kind of an awkward pricing. For me, Columbus is a team where I'm going to be looking towards the cheap lines. Like if I'm playing Tampa Bay or Edmonton or something like that, and I do need like a 10K line, I think Columbus 2 and Columbus 3 are perfectly fine here. I was looking at Monahan and Kent Johnson's numbers together this season. 66 shot attempts, 3 expected goals, 3.3 actual goals per 60. With Marchenko out, Kent Johnson to the top power play unit, so at least you get power play time there. I don't think it's necessarily a good power play spot for either side just because neither power play is very good. But, at least you do get power play time from them. I think I agree with you on Columbus, Monahan, Jensen, Voronkov for me, or Monahan, Johnson, Voronkov, sorry. I think Coyle, Sillinger, and Olivier is fine. They're technically, I know they're listed as Columbus 3. They're pretty much the second line. They've been fine in a small sample, but, coming in fairly chalky, 4.2% ownership against a 1.3% top 2 stack. So I think I'll go with the lower top 2 stack, but much lower ownership in Columbus 2. So I guess in this game, it's Columbus 2 and New Jersey 3. This thing is ugly, man.
Yeah. It is. Washington Capitals, 2.9 total. Heading into Philadelphia, the Flyers have a 3.2. Danny V back in the crease. Flyers going Tippett, Zegras, Barkey, Konechny, Dvorak, Rabankin, Michkov, Brink, Cates. Washington should be running back what they went last night. Ovechkin, Strome, Beauvillier, Wilson, Protas, Sordif, Leonard, Frank, Dowd. Like that Dvorak, Konechny, Grabankin line just is a mess defensively in their 3 or 4 game. I don't know. It's been like 4 games they've been together. The thing is, like Strome, Ovechkin, Beauvillier, as you said yesterday, came out of the gates hot. They've kind of just hit the brakes. For me, it would be sort of Wilson, Protas. But like it's not Sam Ersson, it's Dan Vladar, and there's a huge difference there. And back to back on the road, no one's playing them at 7.7% projected ownership, and that's the reason to play them. If this was Ersson, I'd definitely consider them. With Vladar, maybe you still can because it's his first game back, I believe. But if anything on the Washington side, it would be that second line. They've just been excellent in a large sample. On the Flyers side, they are – I'm not exactly sure what Washington's going to do in net.
It's their backup AHL goalie.
It could be Clay Stevenson on a back-to-back, or it could be, what's his name, Garen Bjorklund or something like that. So I don't even know who that is, but it's a cool name. But I probably go to Tippett, Zegras, Barkey, 13,200, 4.4% top 2, 7.6% projected ownership. Like Dvorak, Konechny, Grabankin at 12.9 with higher ownership and a less top 2. That's a pass. I guess like Cates, Brink, Michkov at 10-8 is playable, but 5% ownership there is a bit high. If I was going to eat any of the Flyers ownership here, I'd go to the least negatively leveraged line, which is Zegras, Tippett, Barkey. Probably be their best line anyway. That's where I'd be. I much prefer Flyers at 7% than Devils at 20 and change. You know what I mean? For just a little bit more expensive. Zegras has had an excellent season. Tippett, grip it and rip it. Denver Barkey isn't going to play a ton, but he has good offensive upside. That's probably the line I would go to. You want to one-off, Travis Konechny because, he's actually come to life a little bit. Go for it. Like that line in their 3 or 4 games together have been scoring a ton, but they're not controlling the play and they're getting absolutely run over in the defensive end. So I wouldn't full stack them. It would be Zegras, Barkey, and Tippett.
Yeah. I mean, they're scoring a ton because Konechny has 5 goals on his last 11 shots.
Yeah.
If he keeps shooting 45%, I guess they are going to score a lot of goals. But I mean, I was looking at Dvorak and Konechny this season without Trevor Zegras. I think it's important to point out that Zegras, I know like maybe the raw stats aren't as good as Konechny's or whatever, but Dvorak and Konechny without Zegras on their line, 41 shot attempts for 60 minutes, 80 against, 8-0 shot attempts against per 60 minutes, 4.6 expected goals against per 60 minutes. They're getting absolutely throttled. Hard to believe that Trevor Zegras is the guy that stabilized that line, but he's the guy that stabilized that line. I don't think they're going to be very good without him. I don't think Nikita Gurbankin is the answer to a lot of questions, certainly not at the top line winger status. So not playing Philly 1. Flyers 3, Mitchkov, Brink, and Cates, like they've played together a bit this season. They've had some success. At 10,800, they're another one of those, like if you're playing Edmonton or Tampa Bay and you need a super cheap line, I think that's one to consider. But for me, it's Tippett, Zegras, and Barkey. Like Tippett and Zegras have actually played a fair bit before Zegras got moved to the top line. That's where Zegras was playing for the first couple months of the season. So 270 minutes together, 58 shot attempts, 3.1 expected goals, 4 actual goals per 60 at 5-on-5. They've been creating and scoring pretty well at 5-on-5. 13,200 is a little bit of an awkward spot, but if you're playing, one of those 17K lines like the Islanders or the Leafs, or, you can even put them in with Carolina 1 if you want. It's easily the Zegras line for me. Just, I don't have any faith in Dvorak, Konechny, and Gurbankin as a trio to do well. Like, we've seen Zegras break slates by himself. I think he can do that. I don't know I think it very easily could be a case where he has like a 30-point DK night and then his line mates combined for like 11. So I think Konechny probably the best one-off on the Flyers side, but if I'm going to stack anything, it's Tippett, Zegras, and Barkey. It is a good power play spot for the Flyers as well, but I don't even know if we should even mention. We shouldn't even mention that when it comes to the Flyers. On the cap side, I agree with you with Washington too. Like no ownership. It's another reason why I don't really want to play the Sens. It's because Washington and Ottawa, all those lines are between like 15,000 and 16,500, and all of them are coming in between like 0.5 and 2% ownership. And it's like, would I rather play Ottawa on the road in Carolina or Washington on the road against Philadelphia? Like it's not even really a decision for me. So Wilson, Protas, Sordif at 15,700. Those guys have been very good together this season. 69 shot attempts, 4.1 expected goals, 3.9 actual goals per 60. You only get one guy in the top power play unit. That's what kind of bothers me because Philadelphia's PK below average on the season, bottom 3 over the last 5 weeks. It's been a struggle. They are taking a fair amount of penalties. Washington's power play has been a lot better with Ryan Leonard on it. So, as much as I hate to take Protas off, like I think you can and put in Ryan Leonard, all of a sudden it's $900 cheaper and you can fit him in with like Carolina 1 or something like that. but it is the Washington second line I easily like best in this game. So it's Washington 2, and then I don't know, whatever you wanted to note as the Zegras line. I think I would probably call them their top line, but it's technically Flyers 2. So Washington 2, Philadelphia 2 for me in that order.
Pittsburgh Penguins 3 total heading into Long Island. Sucks. The Islanders have a 3.1 total. Pittsburgh yesterday swapped Mantha and Brazeau halfway through the game. That probably sticks. Crosby.
Well, no, Brian Rust is back from his suspension tonight.
Oh, yeah. So it's probably going to be Crosby, Raquel, Rust.
Yeah.
And then Mantha somewhere.
And then Novak, Malkin, Chinnikov, and then Mantha down on the third line.
Yeah, with Kindle and Brazeau or
probably.
Something. Or they might healthy scratch Rutger. We have to see. That kind of changes things. Not really, because Sorokin's in net, and he has been excellent. Islanders going Horvat, Palat, Barzal, Drouin, Heineman, Holmstrom, JG Pajot, Duclair, Lee. Here's the thing. We talked about it yesterday, or Cliffy talked about it. I listened with everyone else. When Rust is on the top line for Pittsburgh 1, their defensive numbers fall off a cliff. Everyone was super excited for Islanders one night last night. Didn't really come to fruition. Don't have an issue going back here for the 5-on-5 matchup. It's not a good power play matchup. Pittsburgh's penalty kill is very good, but it's not like the Islanders' power play is some like well-oiled machine. It has gotten a lot better since Matthew Schaefer got to the team, but I'm fine going back to Horvat, Barzal, Palat here. You can do whatever you want with Palat. He's 2,900 on the top power play. Like, I wish it was Heineman, wish it was Holmstrom, wish it was Lee, wish it was Duclair, wish it was Frostback, anyone but Palat, and it'd be a lot easier click. But 16,700, 6.9% top 2, 4.6% projected ownership, like positive leverage here. It's a good 5-on-5 matchup. So I do like the Islanders top line here. One off Holmstrom, fine. But, again, not a great power play spot. On the Pittsburgh side, not a huge fan of Pittsburgh here going up against Sorokin. If I had to go to a line here, like with Rust back, that top line is going to be over 20K.
I think it's 21,100.
Yeah, and that point, I'm just going to Edmonton. You can make a case to play them. The Islanders are really bad defensively. But I'd rather play Edmonton against the back-to-back Toronto on the road, and they started Wool last night. So for me, it would be going back to Pittsburgh too. Novak, Chinnikov, Malkin. They've been excellent in 100 minutes. They'll see second and third line matchups. It's not like there's any good defensive lines for the Islanders. The only thing that's an issue is Sorokin. Dude should have a Vezina handed to him today just for having a .929 save percentage with that roster in front of him. But, Pittsburgh too, at their price, how good they've been, I'm more than willing to take a flyer on them as a filler.
Yeah. I'll start on the Pittsburgh side. I'm out on Pittsburgh 1. They're very expensive. It's a bad power play spot for them. Now, whether it's Sorokin or whether it's the Islanders defense, I will probably tip the scales to Sorokin, but the Islanders penalty kill has been very good this year. Top 6 over the last 5 weeks by goals against per minute, top 8 over the course of the full season. So it's not a good power play spot for the Islanders, especially with Sorokin in net. The Islanders don't take a ton of penalties, and Pittsburgh doesn't draw a lot of power plays. So even though Pittsburgh has had a very good power play this year, they might only get a couple cracks against a team that's, top 6, top 8 in the league on the PK. So I don't feel like it's a very good power play spot for them. So, at 21,100, like if you're MME tonight, obviously you consider Pittsburgh. I probably would rather still play Carolina and save $1,300. But Pittsburgh 1 I think is fine in MME, but it's the second and third lines I have more interest in for single entry, just because that Chinnikov line, Malkin, Novak, Chinnikov, up to 110 minutes now, 67 shot attempts, 4.3 expected goals per 60 minutes. Like, that is absolutely preposterous. Like, Chinnikov scored again last night. He's got 7 goals in 16 games. Now, he's not going to keep shooting 20. I think it's 21%. But they've been very, very good at 5-on-5. So I think Pittsburgh 2 is firmly in play. And also, I assume the third line is going to be Mantha, Kindle, Brazeau. And Mantha and Brazeau have played a lot together this season. Over 340 minutes together at 5-on-5, 3.4 expected goals, 3.2 actual goals.
And that's what the ghost of Evgeny Malkin at center.
Yeah, like they played with Malkin, they played with Novak, they played with Kindle, they played with Kevin Hayes for a little bit. Like, they've had a bunch of different players, and they're still scoring very, very well. With Russ back, I'm assuming Mantha's not going to get top power play time. That kind of sucks. They aren't super cheap, but 11,400, you can fit them in with, again, Carolina 1, depending what you do with Tampa Bay. You could probably even fit them in with Edmonton 1 if you really want to make it tight on your defensemen. So, like, I'm not really worried about any of the depth matchups from the Islanders. Like, I was looking at that Pajot line with Duclair and Lee on it. 35 shot attempts for 61 against per 60 minutes. They are getting absolutely rolled over. I don't imagine that the second line centered by Jonathan Drouin is going to be very good long term. So those middle six matchups look pretty good for the Pittsburgh side. So whether it's Pittsburgh 2 or Pittsburgh 3, I think both are in play. Considering how well that line is rolling right now, I would probably lean Pittsburgh 2, but I think it's the Pittsburgh second and third lines that I'm more interested in over the Pittsburgh top line. On the Islanders side, like, it is Islanders 1 I have interest in, but holy like, Andre Palat, man, like, it ain't
anyone else.
This ain't it. Like, it's not it. I mean, the fact that they're correlated and they're going to play, like, Platt maybe at the low end at like 17 minutes because of the power play time, and obviously Horvat and Barzal played like 18 to 21 minutes depending on the game or whatever. Getting that much ice time, sub 5% ownership, like, you do have to consider they're at home. You do have to consider the Islanders top line here. Like, there aren't a lot of lines in that price range coming in with positive leverage that I really want to play here tonight. It's like Islanders 1 at home against the Penguins, or Buffalo 1 on the road against Vasilevsky and the Lightning. Like, I would probably rather play the Islanders, but it's one of those things I wouldn't really love doing. So I guess for me, it goes Pittsburgh 2, Pittsburgh 3, Islanders 1 out of this game. I'm not discounting playing the Islanders, but they'd be my second line into my lineup. They're not the first 3 names I click in. Let's put it that way.
It's pretty funny. Kyle Dubas trying to rebuild, like, stealing Tommy Novak, getting Chinnikov, and then they're going to make they're like on a 100-point pace and going to get absolutely run out of the building in a 7-game series. Anyway, Buffalo Sabres, they 2.6 total heading into Tampa. The Lightning have a 3.5. This game is what you like to call a proverbial mess. Zach Benson got hurt last night. They moved Peyton Krebs up with Thompson and Tuck. The second line stayed intact of McLeod, Zucker, Quinn. Then Ostlund and Doan was rotating with some people. We'll have to see. We won't know till warmups. On the Tampa side, Cirelli's out. Nick Paul's out. Your mom's out. Like, there's just everyone is out. Cliffy thinks that Jake Gensel is going to have to play center, and they're just going to roll out Gensel, Hagel, Kucherov, and play 30 minutes.
I mean,
not 30 minutes.
Not 30, but probably close to 25, if not more.
And that line is triple winger and 24K. But it is Buffalo Sabres back-to-back on the road with Colton Ellis in net, who has an .898 save percentage. They're banged up. Like, we were talking about this game before the show. Like, Tampa's obviously going 11-7 here. They're going to play Gensel, Hagel, Kucherov, an absolute truckload of minutes. Gord, the Gord line, the checking line or whatever, is probably going to play a fair share of minutes. I would imagine even like Dominic James and Gonsalves will get 16, 17 minutes, and then the two guys may play like 9. So if you're looking for an interesting pivot off Edmonton, Gensel, Hagel, Kucherov is pretty interesting. I guess you could play Bjorkstrand because he is on the power play. I'm just sticking to the big guys here, Hagel, Kucherov, Gensel. Even if they don't start together, they're going to play together. They're very expensive. The Sabres team isn't great defensively. Colton Ellis started great, not great. So it's just a question of if you're not paying for Edmonton, but you want to spend up, it would be these Tampa expensive guys here. It is triple winger, which is very annoying. But there are a couple things you could do. There's obviously double center stuff you could do, like Cliffy's favorite, going Cody Glass, Nico Hischier. He's not doing that, but there's definitely ways to get double centers in there. I think it's an interesting play, just from the sheer fact of how much they're going to play. They're all on the power play, and Buffalo's back-to-back on the road. Other than that, like, one-offs are fine. One-off Hagel, one-off Gensel, one-off Kucherov, one-off Bjorkstrand. We'll get to Radish when we get to defensemen. I wouldn't really stack anything other than Hagel, Gensel, Kucherov. On the Buffalo side, I think they're even on the front end of a back-to-back, right? For Tampa, I'm not 100% sure on that. I saw something that, like, Jonas Johansson could start, but that was just speculation. I would just go to McLeod, Quinn, Zucker at 11,500, just because I know they're going to be together, and they have been very good in 195 minutes. It's not a good power play matchup. I guess maybe it gets better with Cirelli out, but again, like, that second line has been great. You want to go to Ostlund Doan 2-man or something like that, a Tage Thompson 1-off. I'm not running out to play the Sabres. If I was, I'd probably just plug in that second line.
Yeah. Brandon Hagel and Jake Gensel have played 155 minutes together this season. Those 155 minutes, 80 shot attempts, 4.6 expected goals, 4.3 actual goals per 60. Now, obviously, a lot of that is with Anthony Cirelli at center, some with, Braden Point at center, but they've been tremendous. And it's not just me saying that Jake Gensel might have to play center. I think one other beat writer said it as well. And it's not like Gensel doesn't take faceoffs or hasn't played center or anything like that, right? Like, over the last 2 seasons, 133 games, he's taken over 600 faceoffs. Like, he's played center for some shifts, for some stretches of time for this team. So, like, he has done it. It is really expensive, right? You put in those 3 guys and then you add in a goalie in the mid-7s. You've got, like, the rest of your roster spots average like $3,500 a piece. So, like, you're basically punting every other roster spot. But like I said, I Gensel and Hagel have been tremendous together this season, correlated on the power play. I don't know if anybody looked at the minutes that they played in the last game. Now, obviously, that game against Boston, the outdoor game, one, it went the full 65 minutes to a shootout. The other, Cirelli was hurt. Kucherov played 28 minutes. Brandon Hagel played 27 and a half. Jake Gensel played 27:40. Like, I do think these guys played at least 22, 23 minutes, pushed 25 minutes. Colton Ellis has been fine. He hasn't been great or anything. Buffalo's penalty kill, it's basically middle of the pack over the last 5 weeks. Remember, this is a team, like, through the first, 10 weeks of the season was basically top 3 in the league. They've been on a steady slide. If this was like an 11-game slate, I would probably just completely pass on Tampa Bay. But with 7 games and with them being the clear pivot away from Edmonton, and, there are some very cheap players and lines that you can go to. We talked about that Columbus third line. We talked about the Carolina third line, talked about Pittsburgh 3, there are 10K lines elsewhere that you can use. So I'm kind of intrigued by Tampa 1 here, assuming it's Kucherov, Hagel, and Gensel. And like you said, even if they don't start the game together, they're probably going to play 2/3 of their minutes together, and one of those 3 guys is going to be on the ice at all times. So I think Tampa 1's very interesting here. On the Buffalo side, my God, Peyton Krebs. I thought I was done with that. I can't do it. Surprise, motherfucker. Yeah, I would probably just go back to Zucker, Quinn, and McLeod, 11,500. They're going to avoid that Holmberg Gord shutdown line for Tampa Bay has been very good this season. 2.2 expected goals against, 45 shot attempts against per 60. That's what Tage Thompson's going to run into. That's a pretty bad matchup. Otherwise, especially considering all the injuries, I think Buffalo 2 at 11,500 is very playable here. Quinn on the top power play unit. Those guys are playing 15 to 17 minutes. Ryan McLeod, 17 points in his last 16 games, and that guy's not even getting top power play time. A lot of those are assists, so let's not get too excited. But they have been producing. They've been creating very well at 5-on-5. They're bad defensively, but as long as they can create, that's all we kind of really care about. So for me, it's Buffalo 2. Tampa 1's easily my favorite thing in this game. It'd be interesting to think about game stacking here. 35,500 for the 3 of them. You add in, for the 3 guys on each side, you add in, a mid-7s goalie from elsewhere. You can squeeze it in, but yeah, Buffalo Tampa Bay top guys, easily my favorite thing in this game, but I think Buffalo 2 is firmly in play.
Toronto Maple Leafs 3 total heading into Edmonton. The Oilers have a 3.9. I don't even remember it. No, Toronto did win last night, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they beat Calgary.
Congrats. Leafs going Matthews, McMahon, Domi, Tavares, Nylander, Michelli, Roy, Nyes, Robertson. Oilers going McDavid, Nugent Hopkins, Hyman, Draisaitl, Podkolzin, Kapanen. Yeah, Toronto 2 had a big night last night. You can run them back if you want, but 16-7, there's a bunch of lines in that 16K range that are just good. You know what I mean? You have maybe not.
On second thought, it's just the Islanders, really.
It's just the Islanders, yeah. There's really not much there. You have the Kachuk line. You have the Washington lines a little bit cheaper. Yeah, there's really not much in that range. I guess you could run it back because they are shooting on Oilers goaltending. The McDavid line isn't great defensively. The Draisaitl line certainly isn't good defensively. Josh Szymanski really isn't it with Savoie and Roslovic. So it's not like there's a tough matchup coming back at them. I'd probably still go to Matthews, McMahon, and Domi. Just personal preference. If I'm going to, stack Toronto, I'm going to get their best player, and that's Austin Matthews. McMahon has been shooting the puck a bunch. If you want to go to Toronto 2, run it back, that's fine. But I like Toronto 1. Oilers, it's just a question of what you want to do again. There's nothing new to say about the Oilers. You either play the top line or you go McDavid, Draisaitl, and if you can afford it, you put in a third guy. There just really isn't anything to it. I guess you could go McDavid, Draisaitl, Podkolzin, or McDavid, Draisaitl, Kapanen if you wanted to, lower the cost. But for me, I just go Oilers 1, or I would go McDavid, Draisaitl, and try to get in a third guy. There's plenty of cheap options here tonight, but Stolarz is in net for Toronto. He had a great season last season, but he has not been great this season. Joey Woll has been their best goalie by a mile. So it is the Edmonton top guys. It's just a matter of how you want to do it.
Yeah, I noticed Toronto didn't get a power play last night. They didn't get a power play the game before either. Back-to-back games with 0 power plays. They're down to, over the last 5 weeks, they're down to 1.9 power play opportunities per game. On the season, they're at 2.3. Both those are a distant last in the league. So not only is the power play not being great, but they're not getting very many opportunities. So I just say that to indicate that I don't really care about power play correlation from the Leafs side in this game. All I really care about is 5-on-5. Now, Edmonton's top line has been kind of leaky defensively lately. Last 10 games, 69 shot attempts, 3.7 expected goals against per 60. In fact, it's gotten to the point where they're using McDavid less in a shutdown matchup. Like for most of the season, especially after Hyman got healthy, they used McDavid against the opposing top line, but they didn't really care about matchups. Like they would use against the opposing top line, and they play so much that they would get ice time against the second and third lines as well. Now the last couple home games, they've been specifically keeping McDavid away from opposing top lines, which I don't think it really matters in this game because, Toronto 1 and Toronto 2, not really too dissimilar defensively, but I do think that makes it a little bit of a better matchup for Toronto too, but it feels like chasing points, honestly. And John Tavares, William Nylander, he had a great game last night. Matthias Michelli scored. John Tavares had an assist and a shot. Tavares, he's just not really been doing a whole lot. 40 shots in his last 20 games, 2 shots per game over his last 20 games, 14 points in that span. So 2 shots per game and a 56-point pace for a quarter of the season, like on a team that's just not doing anything on the power play. So I think I agree with you. I'd probably just go back to Toronto 1, Matthews, McMahon, and Domi at 17,800. More or less because there's a lack of options. You either pay an extra $2K and go play Carolina, or you save $1,000 and play like you said, the Islanders or Washington or Ottawa or something like that. So I guess it's Toronto 1. I'm probably not playing the Leafs here tonight. I honestly prefer one-offs from the Toronto side. Certainly a one-off Matthews. I think you can probably one-off Nylander. He did look a little bit healthier than we've seen him recently, although he's up to 7K. Something like that rather than full stack anything. On the Edmonton side, that top line over the last 10 games is shooting 4.6%. You got to think that's going to turn itself around, but is it going to be after the Olympic break or is it going to be before? It's not a great power play spot for Edmonton just because Toronto doesn't really take penalties, 2.3 times shorthanded per game over the last 5 weeks. Third lowest rate in the league over the course of the season, the second lowest rate of time shorthanded per game. So the Oilers might only get a power play or two here tonight. Now, they are one of the teams that can very easily go 2 for 2 with the power play. But I'm going to be honest, 23,200 for Edmonton 1, I'll pay the extra $1,100 and go play Tampa Bay. That's just kind of the way that I look at it. So I think my favorite thing in this game is Toronto 1. I might be out on both sides in single entry here.
I think I tend to agree. Oh, boy. Seattle Kraken, 3 total. Heading into Anaheim, the Ducks have a 3.5 total. Seattle going Beniers, McCann, Eberle, Wright, Schwartz, Kakko, Stevenson, Tolvin, and Cartier. Ducks going Granlund, Seneca, Killorn, Paling, Kreider, Terry, McTavish, Gauthier, Veal. This is a really good power play matchup for both sides. I don't like these Ducks lines. Not a big shock here. I think what I would do, there's a couple of thoughts here. McTavish and Gauthier are probably going to see a fair bit of that Stevenson line, which is a great 5-on-5 matchup. But you're only getting Cutter Gauthier on the top power play unit there, and he is 6,900. That line's 14,900 with Jeffrey Veal there. I want the power play guys, and the line with 2 of them are Granlund and Seneca. Killorn does absolutely nothing for me, but Chris Kreider is only $500 more to make that line fully correlated at 15,900. If the Ducks are going to be successful on the power play, Kreider's probably going to be involved. He's one of the best net front still in the NHL at 4,100. So I'd probably go something like Granlund, Seneca, Kreider, Granlund, Seneca, Gauthier if you want to get it more expensive. I'd find a way to power play stack. I guess, if you wanted to go Paling, Terry Kreider, or McTavish, Gauthier, Veal, if you wanted to. Like, there's negative leverage on those lines. There's negative leverage on the Granlund line as well. But if you turn it into a power play stack, you should be fine. It's kind of the same deal on the Seattle side, but like their top line is fully correlated to 15,200. And what's different than most Seattle teams is they actually play heavy minutes, and they have been excellent. And there isn't a matchup on the Ducks side that really worries me. Maybe Paling and Terry can be decent defensively, but Kreider at 5-on-5 is just in his own land. He's in La La Land at 5-on-5. So I do really like Seattle 1 in almost 200 minutes, 3.3 expected goals for, 3.8 actual. They're fully correlated. That power play unit actually has been okay. The Ducks penalty kill is atrocious. They take a lot of penalties. So honestly, my favorite thing in the game from a full stacking standpoint is Seattle 1, and they have positive leverage too. Usually we're like, oh man, don't want to play Seattle because this line is 2.3% top 2 with 14% ownership. But this top line is 6.3% top 2, 5.7% projected ownership. That's perfectly fine. So Seattle 1 for me. On the Duck side, I try to make it a power play stack. I don't really like any of the 5-on-5 lines.
Yeah, on the Seattle side, the top line has legitimately been good offensively. 61 shot attempts, 3.1 expected goals for per 60. Matty Beniers, his last 20 games, 40 shots, 18 points. That's better than John Tavares. So they've actually been doing well. You mentioned the power play. Above league average overall, below league average for a top power play unit, but being above average on the power play in general is a miracle from a Seattle Kraken team. Now the Anaheim penalty kill has been getting better, but a lot of it is driven by save percentage. It's like Anaheim's last 10 games, right? Like it's because Dostal has been playing extremely well. So I don't expect that to persist, but it's like, is Seattle's power play really good enough to kind of break him? I mean, maybe just because I don't think Anaheim's penalty kill is generally very good. I really do like Seattle here at 15,200, just because this is a slate where you might want to pay up for defensemen, right? Like we'll get to them in a second, but like Jacob Chikrin's in a great spot. Evan Bouchard's in a very good spot. Zach Werenski's in a very good spot. You might want to play a couple 15, 16K lines so you can pay up for one of those big guys. I think Seattle 1 is absolutely one of those lines that you should really consider here, just because they have been good offensively. Like you said, I'm not worried about any of the 5-on-5 matchups from Anaheim. It's basically like playing the Islanders. The only thing you worry about is the goaltender like saving like 36 out of 37 shots or something like that. That's the general concern. And I don't think Dostal's quite on Sorokin's level, but I don't think he's that far behind either. Like that's kind of the issue. So Seattle 1 for me. I will say that like that Shane Wright line, not that I have a tremendous amount of interest in Seattle 3, but they're another one of those like 10,000K lines where if you need something super cheap to play with, Tampa Bay or Edmonton or something like that, I think you can put them in. I think Shane Wright, it's kind of funny. Like I wrote about him on my newsletter today. I think he's kind of miscast. Big surprise at playing in Seattle's depth. It'd be interesting to see how he does on another team, but that's neither here nor there. I think, that Seattle third line's fine as a filler, but it is Seattle 1 for me. On the Anaheim side, Jeffrey VL and Cutter Gauthier are up to 80 minutes together, 81 shot attempts, 3.4 expected goals for per 60.
I think Cutter would do that with me and you.
I know, but the fact that they've been so good is kind of interesting. But either way, that's not the line that the 5-on-5 line I prefer is Seneca, Granlund, and Killorn, just because one, like they do get quite a bit of ice time, right? Even with Terry back, those guys are going to play 18 to 20, 21 minutes maybe. They've been pretty good offensively. 63 shot attempts, 3.3 expected goals for per 60. I think you can take Killorn off, like you said, and put on Kreider, or even just put on Gauthier if you want to make it a more expensive stack. Like, it's playing against Seattle. It's kind of funny. Like they are different teams, especially offensively, but Seattle's kind of like Anaheim in a way where like The only thing that worries me is like the goaltender makes, has a 970 save percentage in this game and just ruins everything. If that doesn't happen, it could be a very good game for Anaheim. Like Anaheim won Seneca, Granlund, Killorn. They've been good at 5-on-5. They get good minutes. Not worried about any of the Seattle matchups. I don't care if it's Seattle 1 or Seattle 2 or Seattle 3. So I think it's the Anaheim one I like best in this game. I agree. I would probably take out Killorn, put in one of Gauthier or Kreider. I mean, you can leave Killorn if you want to keep it at a 15,400 line. Pair them with another line in that price range so you can play Werenski or whatever. I think that's fine. But it is a pretty good power play matchup for Anaheim one. So Anaheim top line, Seattle top line. That's my interest in this game.
Let's talk about defensemen. In the 6K and up range, obviously you have Werenski and Bouchard, 8,500, 7,800 respectively. Then we have Rasmus Dahlin, Jacob Chychrun, Darren Radish, and contractually obligated to mention Jake Sanderson. Like, I think Werenski is an interesting play here because, one, the Devils aren't great defensively, but Kirill Marchenko's out. So Werenski might be more involved, if that makes sense. Like, he's already like wildly heavily involved, but he'll probably be more involved if that's even possible. Like, obviously he's in a tier of his own. If you have the salary for him, you play him. After that, I think Bouchard is in a pretty good spot here at 7,800. Maybe they only get 2 power plays, but at 5-on-5 shooting on not Joseph Woll, I think is fine. But in the 6K range, I think the 2 guys that stick out to me are Chychrun and Radish. It is Dan Vladar back in net for the Flyers, but Jacob Chychrun just bombs away. That's what he does. Darren Radish, point per game player, Darren Radish, I may add. Yeah, I think, as Cliffy said, it's a pretty good night to spend it for defensemen. Chychrun, Radish. If you can't get up to Werenski and Bouchard, I think, Werenski's my number one, clearly, but he is 8,500.
Yeah, the top projected is Werenski. Number 2 is Evan Bouchard, not that far behind, but they are kind of in a tier of their own. But the highest point per dollar does go to Darren Radish at home against Buffalo. For me, it goes Werenski 1, Bouchard 2, Jacob Chychrun 3. Like, I honestly think that Philadelphia matchup's really good. Like, I know it is Vladar. That is a concern. I wish it was Urson, but I really do like Jacob Chychrun at 6,500. So it gives you 3 different price points to work from, either over 8K for Werenski, 7,800 for Bouchard, or the mid-6s for Chychrun. Between 4 and 6K, let's start with the more expensive guys. I think Dougie Hamilton's in play just because it's Merzlikins for Columbus. But honestly, with all those injuries, I might just pass on him. Like, I think John Carlson at 5K, perfectly fine against Philadelphia. But it's Jackson Lacombe that sticks out, 5,100 at home against Seattle. All the Anaheim lines are cheap enough where you can throw in Jackson Lacombe with him and be perfectly fine. And after a slow start, he's been really, really good basically for 3 months now. 4 to 5K. Brandon Montour actually has the highest projection for any defenseman between 4 and 6K here tonight. He probably should carry a fair amount of ownership, but at 4,900, I think Montour makes a ton of sense here. Darnell Nurse at home against Toronto. Everybody at home against Toronto, like that Gary Oldman meme, which defenseman is in play against the Leafs? Everyone.
That's a great movie. I need to watch that. But
yeah. Vince Dunn, 4,400. I think he's playable. I'd probably rather just go to Montour here tonight. Under 4K. Clayton mentioned him earlier in the chat. Tony DeAngelo been on a heater. He's the top projected defenseman. Him and Matthias Ekholm are in a tier of their own for the defenseman under 4K. They're both over 1.3 points higher than projected than the next closest defenseman. So those two, Sean Walker, Pavel Mintyukov. I really don't mind him here for Seattle. He's still getting around 20 minutes a game against the Kraken. That's all you really need. Under 3K, Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I mean, we're assuming he's still in the top power play. That's where they practice. But again, they haven't had a power play for 2 straight games now. Not what you want. Jalen Chatfield on the top pair for Carolina with I don't even would you consider, I guess they're the top pair with Jacob Slavin, but it is Walker and Keandre Miller that are playing quite a bit. But Chatfield under 3K, Erica Branson, I guess. I mean,
block shots.
Guy's getting what, like 18, 19 minutes, and he's definitely in a matchup where they could score some goals against
the
New
Rick
Jersey.
Bonus special, man.
Yeah.
Speaking of, I truly love the Toronto media really still working hard to get Morgan Riley to waive his no trade. Even if they convinced him to waive his no trade, no one is taking that contract. They just need to calm down. Let's talk about goalies here. I don't want to talk about goalies. Everyone sucks. Eat Arby's. I guess like in the top range, Tampa's not on the front end of a back-to-back. The teams that are on the front end of the back-to-back are Edmonton, Columbus, and Seattle. So it's probably going to be Vasilevsky tonight. He would be my preferred option in the top range. I don't love the top range anyway. I'm probably more in the mid-range here. I like both goalies in the Islanders game, whether you want to go Sorokin or Skinner. Whoever starts for Seattle, I think, is playable at 7,300. Because after that, I don't really want to play anyone. I guess if you wanted to take a flyer on James Reimer, you could, but that just screams early exit to my evening. So I would probably go about as low as the Seattle starter, Sorokin, Skinner, Vladar, Vasilevsky.
Yeah, the top projected goalie is Vasilevsky. I think that does make sense at home against Buffalo, and he's like, it's not even really that close. So I mean, he's just been so good, and Tampa Bay's been so good that, you know, if I can get like 13 points from him or 15 points or whatever, like take it and run. After him, I would go to Sorokin, 7,800 against Pittsburgh. Just Sorokin has been so good. 7,400. Jet Greaves actually has the fourth highest projection of any goalie on the board here tonight, the highest point per dollar projection as well. So I think Greaves at 7,400 makes a ton of sense.
Mr. Lickens.
Oh, that's right.
They're on a front end of the back-to-back.
Yeah,
I think Lickens is fine.
That's why I thought I completely forgot. Lickens was starting. Yeah, you can just, I mean, if you want to play Lickens, go ahead. For me, it's like a blood feud for me at this point. I don't think I'll be playing Lickens ever again. So yeah, whoever starts for Seattle, 7,300 would probably make the most sense for me. And I don't know, man, that's about it. Like, probably, I guess whoever starts for Washington, if you want to take a dart throw, would be fine. But I'm not playing Stolarz in Edmonton. I'm not playing Colton Ellis in Tampa Bay. I think, like, you're right. By kind of like process of elimination, it's my second favorite goalie under 7,500 would be James Reimer. But like, honestly, if it's whoever starts for Seattle, or I'm just finding someone else.
I'd probably start Mads Sogard over James Reimer at this point. But, you know, Frostback, I was not being serious. But we will be back tomorrow. I think it's a 10-game slate on a Wednesday. Who you liking for your hat trick pick?
It'll be interesting to see how that game goes tonight. I'm actually kind of excited to watch it. I'm going Jeffrey VL.
I guess I got to keep that energy, huh? I guess that means, you know what that means. It's Kent Johnson night, everybody. Kent Johnson.
Be the first time this season.
In his career, probably.
Yeah.
But, we'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Good luck, everybody, tonight. 2 more shows before the Olympic break, and good luck, everybody.
Good luck tonight, everyone.